And welcome to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. I am Ben, joined this evening by Thaddeus.
Hello.
And, of course, our special guest host back again, Glenn.
Good to see you again, fellas.
Yay. I like seeing things on the radio.
Yes. Everyone take a good look into your radio right now. What do you see?
That's what Glenn looks like.
Probably a speaker.
Yes, yes. You're listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. Phone numbers up here to the station are area code 214-787-1190 or 817-787-1190. And, of course, you can check out our website, thenerdshowonline.com. We post old shows. You can find out info about us, the nerds.
Fun things.
We've got links to Facebook and Twitter. That's facebook.com/thenerdShow.
You can use those to communicate.
Yes, and twitter.com/thenerdShow. Now, of course, we man Facebook and Twitter live during the show, so you can actually tweet us or leave a message for us on Facebook. We'll read it online.
Sometimes we read it in the dark by ourselves after the show.
Really? This is like a very interesting look into your private life there, Thaddeus.
Well, sometimes people post things late at night. What? We can't. We have split shifts.
Okay, yeah, there you go. All right, let's dive into a little Let's dive into some nerd news.
Indeed.
Shall we? Now, of course, the most prevailing subject matter that has been floating around the comic book industry is the issue of the Astonishing X-Men, the gay wedding that's going to be. Has it happened or already happened? I don't even know. I think it's coming out.
I think that's right. Yes,
I haven't heard any hype about it yet about it coming out.
Well, it's coming. They've announced it is what they've done, but they haven't released it yet.
Now, of course, there's a large media uproar about the concept of having a gay wedding in a comic book. It's North Star, who is a gay character in Astonishing X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, at this point in Marvel, who really hasn't been an X-Men? I mean,
everybody.
You're pretty much you're either an X-Man or an Avenger, but we can get to that later.
I'm an X-Men.
There you go. Now,
you should really have that checked out by a doctor, Glenn.
Probably.
It is it's a male character getting married to his male boyfriend. And
yes, I believe that is the technical definition, or one of them.
I was just clarifying in case no one knew that North Star was a dude, instead of a girl. Right.
That's fair. That's fair.
Now, of course, comic books have always come out about they've always demonstrated and illustrated the social climate of the day.
Topics of the day.
Yeah, so people who have been in the comic book industry for quite a while, people who have read comics for 20 plus years, it's nothing really new to us.
It's a reflection of the social time. I mean, during World War II, that was comic books. It was about the war during the 60s and 70s. They confronted drug
America.
use. Yeah, I mean that's the whole the whole purpose of Captain America. So I mean,
Superman was invented on a submarine. Yay!
So I mean, yeah, having a reflection of social issues. Gay rights is an issue in our society today. So reflecting that in comic books isn't something that's really outlandish or unheard of.
I think it's completely not to. I'm not saying this to diminish the issue itself whatsoever, but the fact that a social issue is being discussed in comic books, I feel is a lot more commonplace, and in my personal opinion, also a very appropriate place for it to be discussed culturally and thematically and things like that.
Sure.
Which is part of what the whole point of culture is supposed to be, is a reflection of who we are as a society and what we're thinking about and how we're feeling and so on and so forth, and that sort of larger meta debate that happens within any given social sphere.
Of course.
Now, of course, let's say of course a few more times.
Actually,
I need to work. Hey, I need to work on that. I shut up.
Crutch words.
DC, of course, has answered this by taking a well-established character, which is the Golden Age Green Lantern.
Okay.
Just to clarify, because there's been a lot of talk that the Ryan Reynolds-based Hal Jordan Green Lantern is the one that they are making gay in the comic book.
Right.
No.
This is Alan Scott.
Alan Scott, who is the original Green Lantern from the 1930s and 40s.
So he is officially going to come out of the comic book closet, as it were?
Correct. Now, under the new 52, the new relaunch, it's a little bit easier to do that. Since you're kind of resetting most of your books.
Right.
I believe that is the purpose of the relaunching of everything.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another issue too, because really they haven't relaunched Batman, because of course Batman's selling well, and they haven't relaunched Green Lantern because Green Lantern is selling well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the books that weren't selling well are the ones they completely started over from scratch.
Right. Re-architected.
Which is a legitimate business decision, I suppose.
Right. Yeah. My issue is if you're going to do a relaunch of all 52 titles, then start all of them over from scratch.
But the new 52 just sounds better than the new 50 or the new 49.
49 out of 52? Nice.
Something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a cool thing. I think Marvel's doing a good thing with it. I think it's just like anything else. I think wedding homosexual or heterosexual is sort of a big event in any, whether it's television series, movie, whatever. It's anytime you have commonly beloved characters in general getting married, like the whole Jean Grey and
Scott Summers.
Yeah, and Cyclops wedding was a big deal back in our childhood and so on and so forth. Right. I think it's neat. I think it's it's a good idea, and it's relevant social commentary.
I think one thing I'd like to point out though is the fact that I feel like DC kind of always seems to be playing catch up with a lot of the issues. Right. Like they always seem to play it a little bit more safe than Marvel has. I think Stan Lee has a lot to do with that. I think he's always been a risk taker.
Right.
But I almost feel like the Alan Scott coming out situation, I really feel like it's more a reaction to what Marvel is doing. I kind of get a J.K. Rowling feel out of it, where she comes out, a year or two after Deathly Hallows was released and says, "Oh, by the way, Dumbledore is gay. Did you know that?" It's almost like, oh, okay, that's fine. But are you really just doing that to kind of stay relevant yourself?
I don't know. I don't see the same. I see what you're saying about JK, but yeah, I agree. It feels a little bit more reactionary to me. DC's move with the Green Lantern rather than, again, I agree.
I think with the stipulation with the new 52, if they hadn't relaunched a lot of their books, I would have had more issue with making Green Lantern come out of the closet, because he's been such an established character over the years who has had children and multiple, female relationships, and I feel like they would be shortchanging the character to a certain degree.
So you're saying he's kind of like George Michaels.
Yeah, I mean, that's not something that's entirely unheard of.
Right.
But I think just given the timing, it just seems very reactionary. I mean, if you're going to come out with establish a gay character, fine, but it just seems very convenient that they're doing it right after the Astonishing X-Men story hits, and they're like, we want to be part of this too.
And also the fact that it's not Hal Jordan, it's the Golden Age character. They're
right,
like, by the way,
which is a well-established, like, second-tier character. Well, no, I'd say he's even a third-tier, well-known character. And really the only reason they're making it to Alan Scott is because there's a larger readership with the original Green Lantern, and of course that book's doing very well. North Star is considered a fourth-tier character.
Yeah,
that's why they kind of ramped it up. So I'm kind of going along the same lines as Glenn.
Right. Well, it's an interesting issue. It's interesting that it's coming up now. Again, I have to agree. I feel Marvel, not to repeat ourselves, I do feel Marvel is being a little bit more cutting edge. That's just how it feels to me.
Yeah.
Who's to say what was actually going on in the planning stages at either company, how long they've been thinking about this. And I'm sure, some of these guys, all know each other and talk and things like that. So not necessarily on a regular basis, but you know how things go.
Oh, yeah.
So generally speaking, I'm just interested that it's coming up and it's coming out.
Right.
No pun intended.
The only reason this is becoming an issue is because a lot of the media that doesn't cover the comic book industry is making a deal out of this.
Right, because this really hit mainstream.
Right, because the nerd news outlets, they're really not doing anything about this.
Well, no, because to them it's sort of like, oh, it's another wedding.
Yeah,
it's
another social thing. Okay.
And North Star's already been out of the closet, so it's like, he's getting married. Good for him.
Yep.
So. But it's interesting. And if you have an opinion on it, let us know. Like, dislike, interested, disinterested. Let us know what you think about it. If you feel DC is late to the game, or if you feel DC is also just as relevant and cutting edge with their decision.
We will certainly be keeping you up to date on this story as it develops. And hey, my issue is this: if you don't like the subject matter, don't buy the book.
Just like anything else. Change the channel.
It's a business.
There you go. You're listening to The Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. Next up, we talk Dallas. It is premiering this Wednesday on TNT, so we'll be talking about it next.
They know drama.
By the powers vested in me by the Federal Communications Commission, I command you to get on the microphone in a serious manner and continue this broadcast.
It's The Nerd Show.
Yes, sir, I will.
You hear that? We have to be serious now.
No.
The FCC commands it.
See, this is the old 70s version, too.
Yeah.
Because you get the waka waka in the background. That's cool.
It's classic.
I'm just going to listen to the song. No, we can't listen to the song. We have to do the Nerd Show.
We're going to talk about the new series coming out.
Yes, you're listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. Phone numbers up here to the station are 214-787-1190 or 817-787-1190. Visit our Twitter page. Glenn's on Twitter right now at The Nerd Show. Let us know what you're thinking, especially about the issues we discussed last segment. And, of course, Dallas. It's going to be premiering this Wednesday, June 13th at 8 Central on TNT. What do they know, Thaddeus?
Drama.
TNT knows drama.
That's right.
Oh.
That was a great setup. And Glenn
I had to finish it.
Glenn delivered on that one.
I totally missed it.
All right, we were watching, we got press materials, and we were able to watch the first episode. What were your general thoughts and opinions? And of course, Thaddeus, this is your realm. Go for it.
TV nerds out there, I think, are generally going to enjoy it. I think if you enjoy the original series, you'll also dig this one. It's not a reboot. It's actually a continuation, sort of from where they left off. It's just 20, 30 years later, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yep.
It's primetime soap drama. Not unlike Destiny or Dynasty back in the day, as well as which was sort of a companion or rival show. Or these days we have things like Desperate Housewives and so forth. So it's if you're into that kind of drama, I think you'll like it. They were known back in the 80s for doing a lot more sort of twists and, big plot reveals and exciting things like that. It's apparent they're trying to set up sort of the same thing. I think some of it works. I think some of it's a little thin. But that's also, pilots and, opening episodes, they're really tough to handle because you can get into an area where you really do have to establish a lot of things and have a lot of expositional elements kind of can feel a little stumbly as you sort of throw them all at the wall at the same time.
Right.
So there's a little bit of that going on. They are doing a back-to-back, though, 2-hour premiere on Wednesday so that hopefully things flush out for most people a little bit. And you can get a better sense of what's going on. But, it's I like some of it. It's sort of a 60-40 split for me. I think they set up some plot lines that I'm just kind of are a little too overdone, a little too transparent, in my personal opinion.
Well, that's due to it being a soap opera show.
A little bit. Just, I don't know. There's a couple of things that I don't care about, and I'm just like, yeah, you're doing that thing again, whatever. Sure. Everybody does that. I don't care. But there are some other elements to the series that I find very interesting, very, very different. I love the fact that even just the premise of the series is that it is from another series, 20, 30 years ago. It ended in 91.
91, yes.
And of course, some of the returning cast, we've got Patrick Duffy,
Larry Hagman, and Linda Gray is coming back.
And Linda Gray. And,
there are cameos by other characers that you've seen over the years,
right, yeah.
But they are the main ones that you see from episode to episode.
They're in it to win it.
Right.
I love, and if nothing else, I really do appreciate from, I didn't watch the original series a lot as a kid because I wasn't really around.
It also wasn't really, geared towards our age range.
Not at all.
No,
there was other stuff going on in other series, but it's. I did see, I'd watch it here and there. It just wasn't. I wasn't regular viewing when I was 6. So, but I always appreciated the character of J.R., Larry Hagman's character.
He's such a jerk.
He's just an old bastard, man.
He really is, and it's wonderful. So if you're looking he is, for all intents and purposes, he is the Darth Vader of the oil business.
He really is,
and it's great. And I love that Larry Hagman is back, reprising his old role. and doing a wonderful job of it, I might add. So, Glenn, thoughts, opinions?
I don't know. The kind of domestic soap drama, not entirely my style of television. I mean, there are definitely some good things about it that it'll be interesting to see where they take it. I could potentially see things getting a little convoluted because I really feel like, and I know a lot of this has to do with just being a pilot, you only have so much time to establish so much information. It just feels like they explored way too many plot arcs in this first episode.
Yeah, they're trying to set up a lot of things, and they're already within the first episode, trying to set up and pay off a certain amount of twists. And I think there's a couple that work really interestingly, but I think I'm more interested in some of the sort of longer stream arcs,
right?
With the plot series, some of the themes that they're setting up are interesting. Traditional energy, oil versus alternative fuels, and
right.
old versus new. And I mean, there's a lot of those classic themes going on.
And I really like that too because it really explores the whole idea that yes, this is not a relaunch or a reimagining of Dallas. It, for all intents and purposes, is an extension of where the series ended. So they're really exploring a few new themes, and I think going into kind of the alternative energy in the face of big oil, that will be an interesting arc to see play out.
And it helps make it a lot more relevant. So I did appreciate the fact that I felt like the series was grounding itself in some relevancy, despite the fact that obviously, everybody is relatively privileged and has all this other history behind it from the original series and things like that. But and of course they come out of the gate running.
Yeah, they really do.
We can't mention too much. I wanted to preface that whole the conversation there.
Oh no. When I say they come out of the gate running, of course, characters that the whole premise of the original series has to do with, internal family feuds and or over oil and money and land.
Oh yeah, you can certainly expect that here in the next in the very first couple episodes.
And of course they're already showing that in the commercial previews and stuff like that, talking about
you've got this throwdown kind of between Bobby Ewing, Patrick Duffy's character, and JR's son. Who are played by Jesse Metcalf and what is the other gentleman's name? Can't think of it.
That's okay.
But they're setting up the generational at odds.
Bobby and JR, have some moments where they talk, and of course, setting up their traditional feud from the original, and then of course they establish the next generation, which are essentially they are cousins,
right?
And so within that, they also come from their different perspectives.
One thing that I really liked about the show is that they're filming a lot more in Dallas itself. I mean, they're not just shooting the house shots like they used to back in the day. They're shooting around town. They do some shooting down at Victory Park. They do some shooting at American Airlines Center. I mean, they're inside and around these buildings. Yeah, and I'm really glad that they're doing that.
Yeah,
that's one of the big aspects that kind of brought me to the table to watch the show.
Again, they really are. When I talk about them grounding themselves in reality, they really are. They are doing a lot more on-location shooting than they necessarily could or have to,
right?
As they didn't really do that much in the past. So I really appreciate it for that. They are out and around the Southfork Ranch, which is coincidentally where I understand your guys was elsewhere, but my high school prom was actually at the Southfork Ranch. So it's I've spent some time there.
Yeah, I mean I've been to a couple events there, growing up in that area.
And it's kind of neat to see it on TV again in a more modern and relevant fashion. It's just it's fun.
It hits home for us because we grew up like 15 miles from Southfork.
Well, you did, but yes. No, I was living in like Omaha, Nebraska when I was first saw any episodes of the series.
That's okay. You got here as soon as you could.
And of course, I thought that's exactly how Dallas was.
Absolutely.
Yes, we're all rich oil tycoons that fight over money.
Big hats, belt buckle.
Yeah, and I liked how they did play that up a little bit. They had, the hats and the belt buckles.
The good old boys.
Yeah, but they also really kind of tempered that a little bit and modernized it a bit because even back then, Dallas wasn't how they portrayed it on TV.
No. Oh, of course not.
But I like how they really kind of portrayed it more as contemporary Dallas, where, Dallas is a much more trendy area. It's not a bunch of rich, good old boy oil tycoons anymore. So I like that they explore the culture about that a little bit and kind of update things a bit.
Yeah, I feel like they're kind of bridging the two worlds a little bit.
A little bit,
and
yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's ultimately it's fun. It's a good time television series where they, again, I think they're throwing a lot at the wall, and I think some of it's pretty thin. I think some of it's pretty obvious, and those are the parts that I'm disinterested in. But there's enough that they're doing with the plot, and enough of the setup is interesting enough that if I weren't critiquing it specifically as a television nerd, I would be interested in seeing where all they were going. Because part of the premise of the original series is also for them to try and twist things around and hit you with the unexpected, which they got a little going on.
A little bit. Let us know on Facebook what your expectations are.
Facebook and Twitter. I myself, I got to watch a few more episodes than you guys did, just time wise. They do throw a lot at the wall, but it gets good. Mm-hmm. It gets good. It keeps your attention. If you're a fan of the old Dallas series, you're going to be a fan of this one.
So Dallas, boom or bust?
That's right.
I think right now it's a very moderate bang.
That's good enough.
I'm a little on the fence on it.
I'm kind of with you there. I think I would need to keep drilling.
Nice.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, there you go. But it's good. It's definitely worth checking out, I think. If you're on the fence about it, I would say lean towards checking it out.
Yeah.
And when is that, Ben?
That's going to be
night.
June 13th, this Wednesday night, 8 or 9, 8 Central on TNT. They know drama. And
they do.
And I would recommend it. I would say check out these 2 episodes and let us know what you think.
Yes, thank you, Ted Turner.
There you go. All right, you're listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. Next up, we actually went and saw an advanced screening of Ted. This is the new Seth MacFarlane movie that's going to be coming out here at the end of the month. We do our reviews next. You're listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM.
Hi, I'm Gary Busey.
It's the Nerd Show.
Our first liner.
Jeff, that creeps me out every damn time you play that.
You're listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. Phone numbers up here to the station are area code 214-787-1190 or 817-787-1190. You can check out our website, thenerdshowonline.com. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. You actually click our Listen Live button. You can listen through iHeart Radio, which is we're broadcasting live right now.
It's streaming over the interwebs.
You can get bios on us, the nerds, and find out our origin stories as to speak. If you miss a show, we actually put shows up on our audio archive page, this one will be up before midnight.
Exciting times.
I hope. I'm
Usually.
the one doing that. But you'll find links to Facebook and Twitter and, of course, our newly created YouTube channel. We actually did some videos at
Dallas Comic-Con.
Oh, no. Really? Oh.
What's happening? Something exciting is happening.
That's right. Okay. Okay, not to sidebar this a little bit, but my mother is on the line.
Oh, boy.
Oh, goodness.
Today is my birthday. I turned 30 years old today.
Woo!
Happy birthday, Ben.
Thank you very much. And my mother is calling to wish me a happy birthday. Mama, are you there?
Yes, Benjamin, I'm here. And now I know what you really think of me. You go,
well, it's no. Hold on. No. Hold on. This is all, well, I didn't know you'd be calling. If you give me some warning, I would be able to work it into the show a little bit more gracefully than what I have.
He's so surprised. It's
I
delightful.
am. My face is red right now. I'm very nervous.
Good. It's supposed to be a surprise. I can't do it any other way.
That's true.
I tell you, that's not surprised.
That's right.
Happy
How
birthday.
can it be a surprise if you know about it?
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Right.
Thank you very much for wishing me a happy birthday.
I'll let y'all get back to your reviews.
Thank you. Are you listening at home?
Of course, your dad and I are always listening.
All right. That's
lovely.
That's one radio.
Yay!
Does Mom's dad listen?
Does anyone else's mother and dad listen?
Well, my parents live in Central Texas, so I don't know.
Oh, they can listen through iHeart.
That's true. We do stream online nationwide.
That's right. That is what your
Glenn?
parents. Yes, it is.
Yes, that's me.
Hi, Glenn.
Hello, how are you doing?
Hi, Thaddeus.
Hello.
I'll meet you someday.
It's true.
It's
I'm
true.
the elusive one.
Now, Glenn, I've known him since kindergarten.
Yes, it's been forever.
All right. Happy birthday.
All right. Thank you very much for calling in. My mother, ladies and gentlemen, and Steven.
Birthday, Ben. Yay.
Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Couldn't have done that better myself.
Oh,
No.
my goodness. Jeff, are you composing yourself from so much laughing in there? You having fun with that phone call?
That was awesome.
All right, I can't hear you.
That was a lot of fun.
That's okay.
Still can't hear you.
That was pretty awesome.
Put you in program, dude.
Yeah, I don't like when other people use the board.
Okay.
Yeah, no, is when she said who she was, I had to put her through.
Of course.
It just
of
had
course. And
Yes.
every time she calls, you put her right through.
No mother should be denied.
That's
Absolutely
right.
not.
I'll
Pleasure
hear
of-
about it if that's the case.
Indeed.
I'll get an earful, certainly. Let's move on to Ted, the new
Yes.
Seth MacFarlane film that came out.
His feature directorial debut.
Yes, indeed.
Really, he did direct it. Okay,
Yes,
I
he
knew he voiced it
directed-
and wrote it.
Yeah, he wrote, directed, voiced. I'm sure.
Well, co-wrote. It's with
Co-wrote, yeah.
yeah. Team effort.
as most of the time it tends to be.
Yeah.
But he has a lot of connections that he uses on his core shows. Of course, the creator of Family Guy, American Dad, and The Cleveland Show.
Right.
So he does plenty of work with the people there, and you saw a couple of those connections in the film, like Mila Kunis is starring in it, who
Right.
voices Meg on Family Guy,
And-
which was really weird listening to her and seeing her talk and not Meg.
I thought it was a lot of fun. It's very obviously he went deep into the bullpen, and so there's a lot of cameos from sort of the Seth MacFarlane team of players, as it were. Which was a lot of fun to see everybody sort of a little bit more live action, and there's a few other cameos and twists in there which are fun, which I'm not gonna spoil for anybody, but it's a good time.
It was,
as one would expect.
It was good. It was funny. It was going into it. I like Seth MacFarlane. I've been a Family Guy fan for a long time. And I was really wondering where it was kind of going to go because, given Seth MacFarlane's style, I think it lends itself a little bit more to the 30-minute sitcom format. So I was very interested to see how this was going to work in a feature sense. It was funnier than I expected it to be. There was a lot of good dialogue, banter. They even did a couple Family Guy style cutaway gags that I appreciated. Any Family Guy fan will appreciate.
But it wasn't too jarring because it's not jarring itself when you're inside the cartoon itself, but when you do it live action, it can jar you out of the scene
a little bit, yeah.
A little bit. But that being said, it's I think in this context, in this film at least, those sort of Family Guy-esque cutaways are a lot more relevant to the story. Like he makes them relevant scenes. They're not actually true, like random.
Right, they're not the manatee
throwaways.
jokes, as South Park called them,
Yes.
that are just completely random combinations that have nothing to do with the story. He keeps them relevant, and certainly in a feature film, you have to keep them relevant, lest you
course.
completely lose steam in the story. So, they did put those together effectively.
Yeah, I think it's a fun movie. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. If you're a Seth MacFarlane fan, you'll probably definitely want to go check it out.
Absolutely.
If you're on the fence or you're not so much, I think it's my personal opinion. You could probably wait to see it on, rent it or Redbox it or Netflix it or whatever. It's not the plot wise, joke wise. It's funny. It's there. He gets to be a little darker than he obviously can be.
Yes, it is R-rated, so
prime time.
Definitely need to preface that.
And a fun R at that.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's nothing like it's not like overly violent or but the language is extremely racy.
Yeah, but plot wise, it's definitely a lot more transparent and thin than I expected it to be.
Yeah, I mean, there's drama in it, but it does seem somewhat manufactured
a little bit
at times.
Well, it's as far as here's the difference for me. As far as the characters themselves are concerned, I think they're fairly well drawn out and fairly complete for the most part. And so I feel that their stories are inherently pretty solid, but I think the plot itself gets pretty thin at times and gets kind of, parts of it feel a little forced and a little like, oh, we've got to go over here and do that now, otherwise we don't have a movie, kind of bits and pieces. But I think as far as the characters' interaction together, I think that's wherein, a lot of his strength lies. And I mean, that's where a lot of the banter comes from and a lot of the comedy and other stuff. So again, the comedy is fairly solid. I like that he gets to go darker than he traditionally does. And the character, I enjoyed the characters too. I enjoyed a lot of what he did with them. But again, it's like some of the plot is a little forced.
Right. I do think, though, I do want to note this. One thing that I've seen as a point of criticism in the trailers is that they basically took this motion capture animated teddy bear, and he's basically Peter Griffin in a bear's body. And they do kind of poke fun at that a little bit in the movie as far as his voice goes.
A little bit. It's a little bit more combined. I don't think he's quite Peter Griffin.
Not quite, but it's just it is very much Seth MacFarlane's obnoxious New England voice.
Yeah, more or less. Well, yeah, he's thrown. I mean, they're in Boston, so it's a little bit more Bostonian,
right? But they do poke fun at that in the film itself, which I thought was funny and I appreciated because you can tell that he knows that's where it was going to go.
Oh, of course, yeah, and it's I at least appreciate that he acknowledges things like that, and I think it's he does have a fair amount of self-effacedness involved in it, which is nice. Speaking of the bear, the execution of the bear is spectacular.
Yeah, the bear looked great.
As far as effects and things are concerned.
You thought that bear was there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. They did a phenomenal job, especially considering this is his, like, for all intents and purposes, this is his directorial debut. This is his first feature.
Yeah.
This is a phenomenal first feature for anybody to put out as a first feature. I mean, he's not doing high drama like Sam Mendes, so he's not going to win an Oscar for it. But the fact that he's able to put it together in the way that he has is really, really solid.
And something he definitely does get some favors in this too. Like Mark Wahlberg was really good, and considering the fact that he's bantering back and forth with this animated bear, so he's not actually doing that with chemistry on camera.
Well, to be fair, it's not the visual chemistry. It's got to be a little weird because I don't know whether they mocapped it or set up eye lines. I haven't looked into it or asked anybody. But for the most part, at least you've got the director who is doing the voice is there. So I know a lot of other times when actors are directing themselves, and you're Mel Gibson, you're Tim Robbins, so on and so forth. You're at least there, and you get to be present and go back and forth so that your actor at least has the juice to go off of.
By the way, Alex Sulkin, Wellesley Wild, the co-writers, Family Guy writers.
Yeah, of course. And okay, this question I posed to both y'all: see it or skip it?
If you're a Seth MacFarlane fan, see it. If you really don't like Seth MacFarlane, and I know there are a lot of people out there that absolutely do not like Seth MacFarlane, you will get nothing from this movie.
Right.
But if you like Seth MacFarlane, see it.
Agreed. If you're a huge Family Guy fan, if you're a huge Seth MacFarlane fan, definitely go check it out. If you're not, rent it. I think it bears at least some viewing, and I really didn't mean that pun either.
What are with you and the puns this evening, man?
I genuinely am not realizing that I am doing this. But yes, I do believe it should be checked out. But if you're not a big Family Guy fan or Seth MacFarlane fan, just wait and Netflix it or Redbox it or one of those things, because you'll get there are enough funny parts that you'll enjoy it overall.
You'll definitely laugh out loud.
But the movie as a movie, other than some really nice technical execution, some really nice musical themes running throughout and stuff like that, you're really just it's not your cup of tea.
And if you're a fan of Community, you will love Joel McHale's character because he's basically an even more self-absorbed version of Jeff Winger.
That is awesome. I'm going to make this unanimous. It is great. I certainly recommend it if you are a Seth MacFarlane fan. Next up, you're listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. We will be talking, the first issue of a Star Trek Doctor Who crossover, which has been highly anticipated. So we'll be touching on that next here on the Nerd Show on 1190 AM.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
It's the Nerd Show.
Wait for it. Here it goes. Come on.
Don't. Bow, bow. I love Ren and Stimpy.
There you go.
I'm singing Log in my head now.
You're listening to The Nerd Show here on 1190 AM, 214-787-1190 or 817-787-1190. You can talk to us live on the phone if you wish.
Just like Ben's mom.
That's right. That's a very good...
Yay.
Yes. Well, she can't see you waving, Thaddeus.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thaddeus is waving.
Hi.
So there you go.
This is how radio works, Thaddeus.
Radio's fun.
Facebook.com, keyword The Nerd Show. You can leave messages for us during the week. We actually post really cool stuff that we find during the week. News stories or cool pics or videos, anything that we find that's awesome, we post. So go like us right now on Facebook.com.
And follow us on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter, keyword @The Nerd Show. We post stuff on there too. This week's Nerd Show comic book review brought to you by Keith's Comics, located at 5400 East Mockingbird Lane, Suite 120 in Dallas. That's on Mockingbird, in between McMillan and 75.
How would people ever find out how to get to the comic book shop if you gave them the wrong address?
That's a good point.
No, I gave him the right address.
Okay,
now,
that's
Keith
true.
has other locations as well.
Yes, he does. He's got More Fun Comics in Lancaster. He's got More Fun Comics in Denton.
On the square.
And you've actually been to that one,
I
haven't you?
have. That's a nice little shop there.
Excellent. Now, of course, he's also got Keith's Comics North Dallas. That's the store that I go to. You go in there, you talk to Chris, tell him that I mentioned Keith's Comics, and he'll say, so? But no, he's a really nice guy there.
Use the Google if you get lost on your way.
That's right. If you want to find out proper addresses for any of the stores, you can go to their website, keithscomics.com, or you can follow Keith on Twitter and Facebook. That's @Keith since 1989, and facebook.com, keyword Keith's Comics. He posts a lot of cool stuff on there. Any new stuff that usually pops into the store, he'll post pictures of it and say, come buy this. And people do.
It's true.
Yes.
Yep. Now, this week, we're going to be covering Doctor Who versus
Doctor Who squares off against the Next Generation.
Next Generation. Oh, I don't know who would win either.
Sunday.
It's a Doctor Who, current Doctor Who, Matt Smith, and he's teaming up with the Next Generation crew after Best of Both Worlds, but before. Where did you say?
They do kind of work in the Times Arrow episode, which is the one where Data got thrown back in time to San Francisco.
No.
They work that in. No.
I'm thinking in the actual book itself, I think they're on the holodeck.
You think so?
I think so. I think they're on the holodeck. The whole premise is
could be.
The Borg and the Cybermen are teaming up, and this is kind of the introduction on getting the Doctor and the Next Generation crew together to figure out the issue. It's only one issue so far, so you really don't see a lot of interaction between the two worlds yet. All you really see are the Borg and the Cybermen kind of wreaking havoc, which I as a fan of both sci-fi series, I love that idea. It's great.
Meh.
Whoa.
Meh.
Did you just meh?
I did. I med.
Why? Explain now.
All right.
Explain yourself.
So the book itself, this part's a little bit more superficial. I'll start with art style. I appreciate the likenesses that they're able to pull out of some of the characters. You got Riker and Data, and the Doctor Who cast, and others. But for me, it gets very, at some parts it's really nice and clean, but for the most part, it just strikes me as being really, muddy and pastel, and it's just I don't really like looking at it as I'm reading the book. I also just don't find the plot all that interesting. And even though it's only one book, I just kind of look at it.
What plot, Thaddeus? They haven't gotten to it yet.
Well, exactly. That's the part. And maybe it's not fair, but I mean, at least by the end of a book, you should give me something. And all you've given me is it's 1/3 Star Trek Next Generation and 2/3 Doctor Who episode. And there's really nothing going on that makes me care about. I would be interested perhaps in either one individually, but there's really not much going on here that makes me care about this sort of mashup. I don't care.
And I think I agree with Thaddeus on that point, just in the fact that it just doesn't feel like it's going anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, you have two very different stories that they tell completely separately, and they don't really even look like they're lining up at the end. I mean, they They kind of introduce Data at the end, who hadn't made an appearance yet,
and
in
Riker.
in a different setting. Like they start with this. Basically, to preface it, there's kind of like a catastrophic attack on a planet by the Borg, and it never really goes back to that at all. It just kind of hits a point in that where it stops talking about that, and then you never revisit it. Like it never really ties the book together at an end.
Yep.
And I understand that
it's almost like they do a little bit more. Like, again, where I say it's like 1/3 Star Trek and 2/3 Doctor Who, it's almost as if they do a little bit more like, oh, for those of you who don't watch Doctor Who regularly, let's spend some time hanging out with the good doctor and seeing what he's all about.
Right.
And so it really is. It's like a third of an episode of a Doctor Who, series. And I'm just kind of like, I mean, Doctor Who, awesome. Star Trek, awesome. The two of them combined in this particular comic book,
and that's
don't like
the point where a lot of crossover stories seem to fall into a trap, is like they get them together too soon, and then they're like, okay, let's figure all this out by our usual methods, or they really can't mesh two very successful crossovers together very well.
I also just, for me personally, I'm looking at this and just going, meh. I don't see what makes it interesting. I don't see, like, I am a fan, a general Star Trek fan. I haven't gotten an opportunity to watch much Doctor Who. I do really enjoy the series from what I've seen of it over the years. But it just, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, there's no purpose behind it for me. I look at it and go, why do a crossover? There's no point in my personal opinion. I just look at it and go, this is sort of a way. I'd rather read another Batman or Aquaman, or that's where I will invest my time and/or finances. Well,
I think my issue from a structural standpoint, I understand that this is going to be, what were we saying, Ben? Probably like a 4 or 5 or 6.
That's what it feels like.
Issue release,
especially with the pace in this first book. I would say a 6-issue limited series.
Right. So my issue is, I understand that you're going to have kind of a longer story arc on this, but really, each book should kind of stand on its own. Like, you really, while it's part of a larger story, you really should have kind of a beginning, a middle, and an end, if not a resolution, at least something that ties the book together.
Right.
And I just feel like they never tied the book together.
Right.
So there's
it's kind of a mess.
Yeah.
For me, structurally, it's kind of a mess, and I'm looking at it and just going, and we can compare it to other things just because I happen to mention them. Even the new Batman relaunch, even though it is obviously a much bigger story arc, they do have good, setup, delivery, and payoff throughout each book. There's something that you get to at the end, and it's either a cliffhanger, it's something interesting either way that makes me go, okay, what is going on? Same thing with the new Aquaman reboot. Same thing with a lot of both recent and classic comic books, I think, that are more successful. Movies, TV series, I mean, it works for a reason, and I'm looking at this and it just seems sloppy and ill-conceived.
I get where you guys are coming from, and I certainly understand that. I think I'm able to because I've been a diehard Doctor Who fan since 2005. At some point, I'm sure I've seen every single episode of Next Generation.
Right.
And, I'm able to understand a little bit more of the background of the two series.
Mm-hmm.
I understand structurally about the comic book itself. It does feel like it's an opening act rather than, it seems like it's about a third done of what it should be in a comic book format.
But yeah, that's my problem. It doesn't seem like
just
an opening
get to that
act.
point.
Yeah, it seems like half of an opening act.
Yeah. It seems like a couple opening scenes, and then you get to the to be continued, and I go, oh, okay, I really don't care anymore.
Yeah, see, that's
the
bad.
plot never really got going.
Yeah. That's the bad thing about, especially the character of the Doctor, because he's supposed to know everything about time and space. That's
again,
it's a tricky proposition.
My opinion.
Go Batman.
Skip it. Yeah, go Batman. Go.
I will say recommend it because I am such a diehard fan. All right, you're listening to the Nerd Show here on 1190 AM. We will keep going with Doctor Who sometime in the future, but thank you for listening.
We're out of show.
That's right. Thank you, Thaddeus, for stopping by. Glenn, of course, and we will be talking to you next week.
The Nerd Show is a production of Nerdville Entertainment.